Good morning, everyone. It's 11:47. The Niners play in LA against the Rams at 1:05. I'm in my bedroom where I cover the 49ers full time because I'm an insider. If you don't know, I'm picking the Niners to win this week. I'm picking the Niners to beat the Rams. They opened up as 7-point underdogs. They improved to 5.5-point underdogs because a lot of players are coming back. No one really knows what the Niners are going to be on a week-by-week basis, but this week they have Eric Armstead, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., Richard Sherman. Who knows how Richard Sherman's going to play or if he's going to play or what his role will be. I don't know that he'll have a positive effect, but I don't really question the defense. I really don't. I think they're going to be prepared. They're going to play him the way he needs to be played, whether that's just a little bit or not at all. The defense is going to be fine. The defense is always good. It's well coached. It plays hard. It's got smart players all over it. Jimmy Ward's smart. Fred Warner's smart. Jason Verrett's playing really well. The question with the Niners team this season is the run game. It carried them last year. It's been MIA most of this season. Today, they're going to have Trent Williams, which is important. They're going to have Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert, Deebo Samuel. The three of them, I think, can help. Not one of them can carry the team today because all three have missed at least a month. Deebo and Wilson haven't played since the Patriots game, and Mostert hasn't played since the Rams game. But the three of them together, if Mostert could take 8 carries, 10 carries, same for Jeff Wilson Jr., that's 20 right there. And then you could give another 5 touches to Deebo. That's 25 touches that don't have to go to Jerick McKinnon or River Craycraft or Trent Taylor. That's a big deal. I mean, the Niners have been playing games where those guys get actual targets, touches. They can't win that way. So I haven't been in the team meetings. Don't know what the plan is for Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert, and Deebo Samuel. But as long as Jerick McKinnon isn't starting, as long as Jerick McKinnon isn't on the field for the first play of the game, I feel confident about my prediction. Jerick McKinnon, can play here and there, give him a carry, 3 carries, maybe 2 carries, maybe 1. And a pass, that's fine. But if he's starting and he gets 17 touches before halftime like he did in the previous game against the Saints, Niners have no chance. So I feel confident because I think of this as the real Niners, the Niners that can run the ball. And that team seems to have the Rams number. They seem to be better than the Rams because the Rams are kind of the same identity. They don't have a great drop back passing game. They have a good defense, a very good defense, and a run game that is functional, that they stick to. That while it's not, they don't average 5 yards a carry or even 4.5, the fact that they stick with the run game helps the defense, and they win with their defense because the defense doesn't have to be on the field for 30, 35 minutes a game. Run game is important for that. The Niners can do the same thing while averaging 5 yards a carry, which makes them better. So I'd like to see what the Niners can do with their run game because remember, coming into this season, the narrative was that it doesn't matter which running backs the Niners have. Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel are just so brilliant that schematically they can have the Niners averaging 5 yards a pop on the ground no matter who's back there. Well, that's not true. They really, really need Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert. And what's good is I think that those two are fantastic. Brandon Ayuk's not going to play, but I think Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert are top-notch running backs. To have both of them and the Deebo Samuel factor, having him back, he should bring out the best in Kyle Shanahan. Who could lose this game potentially for the Niners? Let's list it real quick. Always the quarterback can lose the game. No one has as many opportunities to lose the game as the quarterback, and Nick Mullins been turning the ball over recently. If his run game is working, he has no business forcing passes. He should manage the game. So Nick, he could lose the game. Who else? Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle. My goodness. It's like he has a vendetta against the 49ers quarterbacks this season. He could lose the game. Could Eric Armstead lose the game? No, but he's not going to win it. Jerick McKinnon could lose the game just by his mere presence on the freaking field. And then Kyle Shanahan, he could lose the game by, doing one of his mail-in performances. If he's at his best, Niners win, even without their starting quarterback. So that's how I look at this game. Let's step back. The news yesterday and this morning is that the Niners can't practice or play in Santa Clara the next 3 weeks starting Monday. On top of all the bad stuff that's happened to this team so far this year, now they can't even be in their facility. So they've decided to play in Arizona. I have a theory why. I mean, they could have came to the East Bay. They could have came and played at Cal. But they wouldn't have fans at Cal. They wouldn't be able to charge admission at Cal. At Arizona, they could have fans. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. So anyway, all I know is that the players and coaches now are going to have to spend 5 weeks away from their family. That stinks. Especially if they lose this game and the season's basically over and they have to go spend 5 weeks of hell in boot camp for a season that's done. So that's what the Niners face. Yikes. I don't really got much to say about that. Sorry, guys. If it's not one thing, it's another. I keep being like, the Niners have had so much bad luck. It's got to stop now. Like that's the limit for what one team can take on. Nope. Now you can't. Now you have to leave California. Goodbye. Thanks so much. Have fun being 4-6. Thanks, Busy. I try. And you're right. I definitely am what you say I am. I mean, there's no question about that. So Arizona, huh? Home games in Arizona. Yeah, it seems like they're going a little too far for that one. But I don't really have anything much to say about that. What I do want to say is talk about is Robert Saleh, because he's starting to get some momentum. I'm usually the one saying that someone needs to hire him as a head coach. But today, Peter Schrager of NFL Network was making the same comment that Saleh's perfect for the Lions. Dan Orlovsky, who I think works at ESPN, same thing, perfect for the Lions. They're right. Robert Saleh is perfect for the Lions, and it might happen, guys. Here's what I think Robert Saleh needs to do. If the Niners finish 9-7, that writes his ticket. Or if his defense finishes top 10, I think that writes his ticket as well. Both, no doubt. But let me just list all the reasons why he's perfect for Detroit and why this could potentially hurt the Niners next season if he leaves. First of all, Detroit has a veteran quarterback, Matt Stafford. So they don't need someone to develop and groom a rookie or a young guy who's been failing. You know, that's always the reason to bring in the offense. We need an offensive coach because we have this young quarterback. No, not in Detroit. They have Matthew Stafford. That's not an issue. They have a quality roster that's ready to win now. That's a hell of a roster. It's kind of like Cleveland's. It's been mismanaged. It was a 9-7 team 2 years in a row until Matt Patricia with his neckbeard took over in 2018 and lost 30 games and won 13. So that's a good roster. They could actually be a contender next year, like Cleveland is now. They don't need a guy to come in and like tear it down and start over and build it brick by brick. They need a guy who can win now. Also, I think they need a new type of personality at head coach. Like Matt Patricia, people hate that guy. Players seem to hate that guy. So many of his former players went on Twitter after he got fired and they were like, ha ha, what'd you say about me that one time, Matt? Well, you just got fired. Matt Patricia comes across as a mean, angry, bitter, negative little tyrant who wants to be Bill Belichick but isn't. You know, kind of like Josh McDaniels when he failed in Denver for similar reasons. Robert Saleh is not like that. He's a player's coach. He's upbeat and positive. Players love playing for him. Listen to Richard Sherman. Listen to Quan Alexander. Everyone loves playing for Robert Saleh. He'd be like the opposite. He'd be bringing in Pete Carroll to replace, Matt Patricia. It'd be a big upgrade. So what else? Well, he's from Michigan, grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, went to college and played tight end at Northern Michigan, coached at Michigan State. That's where he got his start. Then he coached at Central Michigan when Joe Staley was there. So he's Mr. Michigan. I'm sure they could sell him. It's not like, I don't know how many people have heard of Robert Saleh in Detroit, but once they hear that he's like, Mr. Michigan, I'm sure they'll like him. What else? Beyond the fact that he's an excellent defensive coordinator who has leadership ability, his defenses have played extremely well against the NFC North teams. He's historically done very well against the Packers. He destroyed the Vikings in the playoffs. He held them to like 7 first downs, the Vikings. And in 2018, he held the Bears to 17 points. And they lost that game, but the defense played really well end of 2018. So that's 6 games on the Lions schedule that Robert Saleh can feel very confident in his ability to win, just from knowing what those offenses do and his past experience shutting down their schemes. And then in 2021, the Lions will actually face the NFC West. So that's 3 more games, 4 more games, right? He'll play the Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. He'll know all 4 of those teams. He knows the Niners offense. He really knows the Rams offense. So that's 10 games out of 16 that he'll actually have deep familiarity with. That's a weird way to say it, but see what I'm saying? He's a perfect fit for Detroit. He needs to finish the season strong, but I think the Niner fans need to at least prepare. The Niners, more importantly, the Niner fans need to prepare for losing Robert Saleh. And not just him. I think if he goes, he'll take a lot of guys with him. There's a lot of former Detroit Lions in the Niners organization. The defensive line coach, Chris Kosarick, was with the Lions for 10 years. You think he might go back if Robert Saleh made him the defensive coordinator, gave him a raise and a promotion? I think so. Also, Martin Mayhew, high up in the Niners front office, used to be the GM of Detroit. You think he might like to go back with Robert Saleh to Detroit, who also fired their general manager, Bob Quinn, a couple of days ago? Maybe. What about Adam Peters? There's no promotion for him on the horizon here with the Niners. They just gave John Lynch a 5-year extension. Maybe he'd like to go over to Detroit and be the general manager with Robert Saleh. Hey, maybe Mike McDaniel or Mike LaFleur, whichever LaFleur the Niners have, maybe one of those 2 guys would like a promotion and become an offensive coordinator and play caller on Detroit with Matt Stafford, as opposed to sticking around here and living in Kyle Shanahan's shadow and coaching Mac Jones, Kyle Trask. I like Kyle Trask, but you know what I'm saying? Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe Robert Saleh brings a lot of this enterprise with him to Detroit, and the Niners have to do what Atlanta did a few years ago when Kyle left and took a lot of people with him. They had to really rebuild their coaching staff. It might not just be replacing a defensive coordinator. It could be replacing the defensive half of your coaching staff. But here's the thing. This assumes that Robert Saleh will be the one minority coach who gets hired this year, because that seems to be the pattern. The NFL talks a big game about how they want to promote minority coaches, and then every year there's, of the 7 guys who get hired, it's either 1, maybe 2 minority coaches. It's like whoever the group is, I forget their name, that is trying to promote minority coaches, every year just decides, you know what, look, guys, we can't shoot too high here. I mean, we got to be realistic. The NFL isn't really looking to hire you guys. So we need to decide on one of you to promote this year. And that's how it works. It's like last year it was Ron Rivera. And I like Ron Rivera, great guy. But I mean, he's a retread. He's been around forever. Can't someone else get an opportunity? And when it's not Ron Rivera, like every other year, it's Hugh Jackson. How many times has this gatekeeper community of minority coaches decided that Hugh Jackson is the next one who needs to get an opportunity? Like 7 times. Next year, it'll be Hugh Jackson. So Robert Saleh, I don't know if the right people are in his corner or are going to have his back when it's time, because apparently the NFL only has room for 1 minority coach per hiring cycle, maybe 2 if they're feeling frisky. So right now it looks like the guy who's in the lead is Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City, that he's going to be the only minority coach who's allowed to get hired. And then every other team is going to make stupid decisions like hiring Joe. Can we talk about real quick? I've been thinking about this a lot. It's ridiculous. Look at how good Brian Flores is in Miami. Black coach. What I heard is that Bill Belichick never really promoted him. He promoted Joe Judge, the special teams coach, who's now the head coach for the Giants, doing nothing. It's interesting. You look at some of these organizations. Some organizations have never hired a minority coach or never had a minority quarterback. It's like the New York Giants. Did you know that the New York Giants have never had a minority coach or a minority quarterback? It's amazing. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys have had Dak Prescott, but they've never had a minority head coach. So look, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys should fire Mike McCarthy right now. Right now. He's a joke. He's probably worse than Jason Garrett. And they would do great with a guy like Robert Saleh. That's not going to happen. They're never going to do that. Never going to happen. So Robert Saleh should be a coach. I don't know Lions ownership, what they're looking for, what they want the face of their franchise to be. Is Robert Saleh the face of their franchise? He should be. But he can't be the face of the Cowboys franchise, apparently, or the Giants franchise, apparently. He can't because of the hue of his complexion. I don't know. Hey, if you think I'm wrong, look at the pattern here. It seems to be like one guy a year who gets the nod. You are the chosen minority coach of the year. Everyone else, hey, wait your turn, man. Wait your turn. Maybe better luck next year. It's rough. So I don't know if Robert Saleh's first in line, second in line, third in line. There's like the regular coaches line and the minority coaches line. And this is one. It's like at the club, you know what I'm saying? Where like there's like the VIP line and everyone else has to wait forever. They're in the waiting forever side. And then there's like right this way, Paris Hilton, come on in. Ooh, nice to see you. Nice heels tonight. That's what it's like. I don't know how many of these retread coaches like Mike McCarthy have to fail before they're like, oh, maybe we give a guy like, maybe we look for the next Brian Flores instead of the next 32-year-old white offensive coordinator. Is that the move? Just because Sean McVay is good doesn't mean that Zach Taylor is the right move. Zach Taylor. You know what I'm saying? Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur is so lucky he has Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, all I'm saying is get the best person for the job. And that's Robert Saleh. It's not, for example, Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh might have been the best man for that job in Detroit 10 years ago. But I think people are floating his name because he's in Ann Arbor. And he could it's pretty close. It's kind of like going from Stanford to the Niners. But if I were hiring from there, and I respect Jim Harbaugh, he usually wins most of his games. He probably would win most of his games with the Lions. I just think his best days are behind him. He used to talk about having an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. I think that's waned a little bit throughout the years. I don't think he has the same whatever it was that made him great 10 years ago. Robert Saleh is just getting started. I think the key is to get a coach on the way up, not a coach on the way down. Robert Saleh hasn't made tens and dozens and all that. I mean, Jim Harbaugh is probably worth $100 million. Robert Saleh is probably worth like $1.5 million. He is grinding like I grind. I mean, he's a very earnest, blue collar by NFL coaching standards coach. That's the kind of guy I want, not the guy who's already made a fortune, been to the championship games, lost, been to the mountaintop, failed. And those guys have baggage. You know, like Jim Harbaugh has all that baggage of never beating Ohio State, never really competing against Seattle when he was here, never winning a championship at any level, being a high-level loser. That's a lot of baggage. I talk about the monkey on the back with Kyle Shanahan losing 2 Super Bowls. Remember Steve Young talked about it before he won the Super Bowl, the monkey on his back? Well, Jim Harbaugh's got a big one. Robert Saleh, he's like young and undefeated. There's no monkey on his back. He's just getting started. So that's a long little rant about him. But I'm saying, you guys, be prepared. If the NFL opens its mind a little bit and doesn't decide that like the next guy that gets hired next year is Hugh Jackson, or that Eric Bieniemy is the only minority coach who can get hired in 2021, I'm trying to bring this to light because it's ridiculous. People don't talk about it. Maybe if I talk about it, 3 minority coaches will get hired this year. Because I think I got Matt Patricia fired. He was, just kind of chilling under the radar in Detroit with his 13-30 record. And then he went on national television. That was a mistake. He should have got that game canceled, baby. As soon as he went on national television, he was done. And so I just watched him for the first time in years since they played the Niners really in 2018, which was, I think, the second game of his tenure. I noticed that, wow, they freaking stink. And I just went on like a rant fest on Twitter about how bad Matt Patricia is. And no one really disagreed. I got a lot of people liking my tweets, Niner fans, who have really nothing invested in Matt Patricia. And I'm sure Lions management ownership saw that and realized, God, if this guy in the West Coast can take these shots at our head coach and no one really defends the guy, I think it's time. I think it's over. So I got Matt Patricia fired. You're welcome. And now I'm going to choose the replacement. It's going to be Robert Saleh. Who else needs to get fired? Mike McCarthy needs to go. Doug Peterson in Philly. See you later. I think he's going to get fired. I think he's right on the precipice. And Matt Nagy, Chicago. Stinks. Oh, it's bad. Those ones for starters. So, I got some questions. Hold on. Some questions. Let's see what we got. We'll see what we got. Hold on. Stick with me. This is from Ian Birch. Did you see Mac Jones? Yeah, I have seen. I just watched Mac Jones. I was talking about Mac Jones with Rich Madrid, who writes for like Niners Nation and all kind of places, and he's really good. He knows his stuff. He watches a lot of film. And I asked him why he likes Mac Jones better than Kyle Trask. I like Kyle Trask, but I haven't watched that much Mac Jones. And I'm biased because Mac Jones is an Alabama quarterback, and I feel like those don't work. So he said he likes his processing speed and his pocket mobility. Okay. What I see from Mac Jones is it's kind of hard to judge his pocket mobility because he plays at Alabama, and he always can step up in the pocket. He rarely has to throw off his back foot. I mean, he can move around. I mean, I think what Rich is looking at, and Rich probably has a bunch of plays to show me exactly what he's talking about. But what I see is a guy who theoretically is more nimble than Kyle Trask because Mac Jones is like 6'2", 215, like a middleweight. He looks like he moves well. Kyle Trask is 6'5", 240. He looks like a statue. So I think if I'm speaking for him, Rich, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I think he looks like I like his athleticism in a vacuum. I like looking at Mac Jones. He moves better. Maybe that'll bear out. I just feel like watching Kyle Trask for a big guy, kind of like Brady, he really manipulates the pocket well. He really has a good sense of where to step. It's subtle movements, but he always keeps his feet underneath him. He's in a good throwing position. And I think he processes information extremely quickly too. Mac Jones does seem to have he does seem to be a good downfield thrower. I don't know if Trask is as good throwing down the field as Jones. It's interesting. I don't know. Jones is interesting. It's just, God, he's got a great offensive line. He's got Najee Harris at running back. He's got 2 first-round picks at wide receiver. I don't know. And also, he's got like 320 career passing attempts since high school. He's a lot like, he has no experience. He has no experience. And he's on the best team. So those are a lot of things that scare me about him. So, but I don't know. How many successful starting quarterbacks in the NFL had fewer than 500 passing attempts in college, counting junior college? Not a lot. There might be 0. Cam Newton, but he played in JUCO. What Bill Walsh always said was that quarterback is a position of repetitions. So you could have a great arm, you could have terrific pocket mobility, but if you just don't have the reps coming into the NFL, then you're not ready. And the NFL isn't really a developmental league. It's not. That's why you see guys fail. I mean, look at Mitch Trubisky. I think he's a good example. 1-year wonder in college, didn't have a lot of reps. Played really well his 1 year at North Carolina, but didn't have a lot of reps. And also, how many people have had 1 good year in college football? What does that prove? 1 good year in college football. Does that prove that you're going to be a success over a 15-year career in the NFL? No. So it's a tough position to scout. I understand looking at Mac Jones and liking certain traits, but when you look at the big picture, he's scary. Scary pick. So I think also what Rich and I would agree with is round 2 for Mac Jones. Given what I just laid out, round 2 prospect. I like his physical traits, no doubt, but the question mark's pushing to round 2. That's it. And you know what? I'm not that into taking round 2 quarterbacks. Most of the good quarterbacks in the league are round 1 picks. I mean, there's Derek Carr. There's some exceptions. There's Russell Wilson. There's Tom Brady. But just take a guy in round 1. How many first-round picks the Niners have spent on quarterbacks since 1957? That was John Brodie, who was a great pick for the 49ers. First-round pick, 3rd pick in the draft. 3, Steve Spurrier, Jim Druckenmiller, and Alex Smith. You know, stop getting cute at the quarterback position. Stop trying to find the next Joe Montana. Stop trying to wait and get value. It's the most important position. It's the position that gets the most scrutiny with all your scouting staffs. If a guy's good, people are going to know it. Just get the guy with your first round pick and give yourself the best possible chance. He could bust too. But Mac Jones, more like Mac, I don't know. Okay. Brady went in the 6th round. All right, guys, the game is going to start in less than an hour. I've rambled on long enough. I don't know if Raheem Mostert is going to get a full load today. I would imagine he won't. But as I said earlier, the key is that they'll have not just him, but Jeff Wilson Jr. too. And if each guy is only good for 10 carries, that's 20 carries that Jerick McKinnon doesn't have to have, and that's good news because they're both excellent players. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll be back after the game, after I do my grades. Game will end at 4. I'll have my grades up between 6 and 7, and then my post-game show will start about a half hour after those go up. Hope to see you there. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.